Take those gates off your toms. Let's do this instead. I'm going to show you a simple technique to clean up your toms without having to use gates, because it can be very finicky to set that threshold to be perfect. Follow this method and you'll clean up your drum tracks immediately. Let's have a listen to these drums and hear how they sound with all of the tom bleed going on. So that's the tom bleed. Let's hear the kit once we mute that. Did you hear how much tighter it sounded when the toms were muted? While the kit's playing, there's all this tom resonance going on. So what we want to do is minimize that as much as possible. Not to mention the cymbal bleed that gets in there can be pretty nasty as well. So instead of reaching for your typical gate and trying to gate these toms, what we're going to do is some manual labor. We're going to go through and we're going to chop all of these tom hits out. So if you're using Logic, just have your cut tool ready. I generally put it on the second command here, so I just have to hold in command and then I can click where I want to cut. This makes things nice and quick and efficient. So cut, click, delete. And we're just going to follow this process, cutting right on the transient. What we want to do is make sure we leave enough decay on the tom hit for what we're happy for it to sound like. So for this hit here, that's going to be perfect. And we'll do a similar length for these guys as well. Something like that, and then moving on. And we're going to do this through the whole kit. Generally a safe place to cut for like a quick fill is either like right on the beat, if you want the toms to really be short and cut off and not resonate into the next part of the drum beat, or you could cut at the snare drum hit. So that's a good place where it can kind of sneakily disappear. And it's gone. Now we're going to add fades to this later as well. So first of all, we're just going to chop it all out. You can see the sustain here, and we're just going to cut at that snare hit. For parts like this where there's a fill and a snare hit, we're just probably going to leave everything in the middle there and just cut it at the end. Not going to worry too much about the bleed there. That's fine. Moving on, another hit here. Might cut it at that snare hit in the second beat. You could cut it on the first beat if you want it to be really short and tight with the low end, but let's just put it like that for now and see how that sounds once we get to it. And we're just going to do this for all of the tom hits. It can be a little tedious, but you do get quick at it when you get used to your key commands and knowing what you're looking for with the transients. You can see where the toms are, especially if you've got a drummer who's hitting nice and hard and clear and getting those hits in there. Okay, so that's all our tom hits right there, all chopped out, nice and clean. Now we're going to fine tune this a little bit. In Logic, you have the option to open up the inspector over here. So you can click the I. I have a command on the keyboard, I just press it, opens up. I'm going to highlight all of these and then click on the fade in here. Wherever this is open, click on region and open that, more, fade in, and just do something like 30. That's always a nice short fade. Put a little curve on it, click on that and drag it up. It's going to make it a steep kind of fade. So instead of like a fade in like that, it's just going to be a quick fade up. So we'll get less kind of cymbal coming up in, and we'll just get the actual hit of the drum after the fade. For fade out, we'll have a quick zoom in and see what this does. Let's just go with something like 400. Looks okay, maybe even 500, right? And then we might just do a minus curve, so it's more of a slow curvature off. See how it's curving up? Just get a little bit of a curve like that, somewhere around 15, 17. All right, now, we're not done yet. We're going to have to zoom in now, highlight all of these hits that you've cut out. And now, because we've added a fade, it's going to be going over the top of the transient here, like right at the start. So we need to make sure everything's highlighted and just drag back a little bit. So that way we're going to get the initial hit of the drum not getting faded in. Now, you could go through and tweak the fades on this. I press escape, the tools pop up, click fade, or you can come up here and click on your second tool. So I change scissors to fade now, hold command down and can drag that while they're all highlighted, can change all the fades. That sounds great. It's very natural sounding we don't have to worry about the threshold triggering the tom or extra hits like the snares being too loud in the tom mic and they trigger the threshold and it's a fight between getting that right. We've just chopped out what we want and now it's just a matter of setting those ins and outs and you can just forget about it. So then we can just listen through to all our toms. Okay, let's have a look at this one. That's great. That seems all right. We could bring that down over that cymbal spill here. There's a China right off the back of that, so let's just fade it a bit quicker. That's fine. We could maybe even just drag that right to the end of the fill. There's no cymbals there, and then just fade it out a bit more. Seems pretty good. And we just go through and we do this for all our toms. Okay, so now we've cut out all the bleed, we've done our fades, we don't have to worry about gating it anymore, right? Now what you can do to make it even smoother is you can then set up an expander. So instead of a gate, expanders just sound so much better on drums. You could grab something like the BX Console, SSL 4KE. So we can just set this to 20, 30 dB is usually pretty good, somewhere around there. Want a fast attack? We're going to play with release time here, but usually kind of around 0.7 to 1 second is pretty good. Usually I have to turn this little light off so that the threshold is higher, right? So let's just set up here over a fill. So that's kind of dialed in there already. Get it to the point where this is triggering. Take it past so you can see it's not quite getting it and then bring it back down until it's starting to get it all the way up. And we can just cut and paste that probably to our floor tom. So you should check that threshold in a couple of places because just looping one section, sometimes those toms are louder and then it won't trigger properly on the next round of toms. So just check it on a couple of places where there's toms to make sure it's dialed in properly. So that's about it. Those toms are set up now. They're good to go. They're ready to be mixed. And your kit sounds a lot tighter now without all of that tom bleed going on. Make sure you hit like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below and let me know if you found this useful. And I'll catch you in the next video.